Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Out Loud. I'm Junie Moon, your host, and I'm thrilled you're here. Yay! We have another wonderful show coming up for you. But before we dive in, I just want to give you a little peek into who I am and why I've created Life Out Loud. So I am a certified shadow work facilitator and transformational coach. And my mission is to really help people stand in their fullness so that they can express themselves in ways that they couldn't possibly imagine expressing themselves, getting out of their own way so that they can live fully, getting out of those sabotaging behaviors that stop them and limit them. And so I help people individually. I have workshops around the country. I have groups and webinars, and that's what I do. So if you're interested in finding out more about my work and taming your inner critic and inner dialogue, you can go to innercritictamer.com. That's my website. You can even pick up my ebook for free, How to Tame Your Inner Critic. And if you'd like to know more about me, everything's there. So why did I start Life Out Loud? Well, because I really want to make a difference in the world and help people shine their light. I thought this would be a really awesome opportunity to bring other people that are shining their light onto a show where I can talk to them. These are people, gosh, to put into words, these are amazing people, leaders of our time, people that are walking their talk, shining their light, inspiring others. And I'm just so blessed to have on my show and to share them with you because they have so much to give, so much wisdom. And you will not be disappointed with who I have today. So I'm going to just pull up his bio because today I have Jon Turk, and this is not his bio. Welcome to live TV. Where is it? Okay, here we go. I have Jon Turk with me, and he's so awesome. He received his PhD in chemistry in 1971. He wrote the first, get it, guys, the first environmental science textbook in North America and continued writing textbooks for 40 years. During those decades, he also engaged in extreme outdoor expeditions. And boy, when I tell you extreme, wait till we talk about that. Jon's circumnavigation of Ellesmere Island with Eric Boomer was nominated by National Geographic as one of the top 10 adventures of 2011. His most recent trade book, The Raven's Gift, chronicles physical and spiritual passages with the Koryak shaman in northeastern Siberia. Jon has choreographed his message into a modern dance titled Synchronicity and the Sacred Space, which was awarded Critics' Choice by the Boston Globe. I actually saw it. It was phenomenal. His current project, Crocodiles and Ice, A Journey into Deep Wild, will be released by Ulyshen Press. Not sure if I'm saying that right, in 2016. Guess what? 2016 is here, so it is happening. That's a note for me. You don't need to hear that. So anyway, I am so thrilled to have Jon here. Welcome, Jon.
Oh, it's so great to be here with you, Junie, and to feel your enthusiasm. Let's roll.
Yes, we are. We are rolling. So thank you so much for being here. I still can't believe some of the things I read about you and your adventures. So I think I'm going to just ask you straight out before we dive into where you are now and all your teachings. Were you always so adventurous? And how did you end up writing the textbooks to doing all the spiritual work that you're doing now?
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, from my earliest time, before I can remember, when my parents tell me about what I was like when I was a little boy, I liked adventuring. I always used to get lost. My mother always found out that I would be lost. Well, I never was lost. I was just
Huh.
exploring when I was just really small. She'd go, "Oh my God, where is he again?" And then I'd be wandering down the street or something. It's just a toddler. So I was always an explorer, an adventurer. That's just in my genes. That's just at the beginning. And then uh, you go into life. I led a very normal life. My father was a college professor. My mother was a child psychologist. We lived in suburban Connecticut. Everybody loved each other. I had a brother and a sister. It was a great, great family.
Nice.
And so I had this drive, this push this expectation to follow in the footsteps of the way my family lived, which was a very perfectly normal life. And and I started heading in that direction, and then uh, I had, what Joseph Campbell would call the call. You you have something deep inside you which says you have to go in a different direction. And then again, going back to Joseph Campbell, there's the resistance to the call. Well, this is so far out of the norm, I can't do it. It's you repudiate what's inside you. And then that battle inside you goes on. I mean, this is what happened to me. It's classic narrative. And then finally, I went along and all these adventures happened. This is the story of the new book, Crocodiles and Ice. And then finally, one day, I'm a PhD graduate student working on problems in quantum mechanics. I'm doing very well in school, and it's springtime, and my dog starts digging holes in the earth, in the spring earth. The snow has just melted in the Colorado Rockies, and the grasses are coming up, and all the soil microorganisms are starting. And the dog digs a hole in the ground and smells the earth. And I follow my dog and I start sticking my nose in the earth.
Oh, wow.
The call, the refusal of the call, all comes together, and I go, wait a minute. I can't live this expectation of who I am. I have to acknowledge who I am deep down inside and not who society wants me to be. And then my life took an abrupt turn, and it's stayed on that turn forever.
Wow, that's amazing that there was such a profound moment. I had a profound moment like that as well. I was 26 and I had a very, very set life, not following the rules per se of life. I was living an actress's life, and I was totally immersed in that world. But I had this moment where I left a yoga class and I felt so peaceful, so grounded, so one with the world. And I was walking down the streets of New York City and I lit up a cigarette and I stopped in my tracks. And in that moment, I just looked at the cigarette and I just, like, the two worlds collided. And I didn't want to go back to the world I was living. It felt empty. It felt pushed. It felt very self-centered, frankly, at the moment. And I was really called to get back to nature, get back to spirit, and my life changed in that moment. So I completely resonate with you. I'm curious, what time frame was that for you? When did that happen for you with your dog? And God bless your dog for doing that and leading you and you following.
Yeah, and I think every person has inside them an innate direction that will make that person full.
Yep.
And every person is different, their fullness, and the degree to which you accept your path, your inner path, I think is one of the first steps towards happiness or mindfulness or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. I would say the same. It's when we're not in alignment that we suffer. Jon, I'm going to actually ask you to put your headset on because there's some feedback and I think that will take care of it. And for anybody that's here on the chat, feel free to ask questions. Let us know that you're here. Say hi.
Okay, just a second here.
Okay.
How is this?
Well, I can hear you, and I don't hear me now, so that's great. It was bad feedback. Great. So, so you had this. That's perfect. By the way, it's perfect. So, what was your dog's name? Let's give tribute to the dog that led you.
Right. The dog's name was Wire. The dog ended up running away and deciding it wanted to be a goat herder. And so the dog had its moment too.
Wow.
It decided, I'm going to take care of these neighbors' goats.
Oh my God. So he had a similar spirit to you, I think. The two of you just kept getting called to do different things in your lives. So time frame, when was that awakening for you with your dog and that connection to to this new path of yours?
Ask that again, Junie, please.
When did that happen with the dog and
Oh, that
the
was
ground?
in 1971, or yeah, early 1971. And like I said, I was in graduate school finishing up my PhD dissertation. And so then I walked down and I told my professor I was going to quit. And he said, "No, don't quit. You know, you've come a really long way and you have a really good project here. Learn to finish what you're doing and then go on whatever journey you want to do."
Hmm.
So I did that. I graduated in 1971, and then I tied a canoe on top of an old Ford Fairlane and stuffed my PhD diploma in the glove box and headed north.
I love your spirit. It's great. So that's like monumentally different than the trajectory you were on. How were you supported in your life with the people around you? Did you get support?
Well, oh boy, that's a complicated question. Um, Very unfortunately, my mother had cancer
Mm.
while I was up north. I was up out of communication for a while, and when I came back to civilization, she was very sick, and so yeah, she had a little trouble understanding what I was doing. She had expectations for me, and many years later, I felt I had a visitation from her trying, and she said she understood where
Mm.
I was going. My dad was always supportive of me, and uh, was just interested in me as a human being, and was wonderful about that. I went through a couple of divorces that were related to the fact that I was no longer the person that this woman had um, she made a deal with a person and she got somebody different, and it was hard. Um, and that's happened to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've stayed the course, it obviously, and heard the calling and kept going even in the midst of what I'm seeing, even in your body demeanor and how you're sharing, some challenges with some people that you obviously care deeply about. So, did you ever question the journey? Did you ever think maybe this is not something I should do, or did you just feel like this was something that you had to do and you just kept going?
Yeah. No. Oh man. I mean, there have been some harshness. What I do is very dangerous, and I've lost a number of friends along the way, uh, in the mountains and oceans and so on.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you have to think at what level it's worth it, at what level. We're going through this right now. A friend of mine, one of my best friends, Gary, was in an avalanche in December. We were there, my wife Nina and I were there. And it was a freak thing, yeah, complicated, technical. Um, he took a long ride. He went half a mile or so down in this very fast moving wall of snow. It all worked out for the best. He was uninjured, and we got him out safely and got him home, and he walked home that day.
Wow.
But at that point, so with this life I lead, which involves high danger, high risk, as well as high glory, just a wondrous, glorious experience. You you have to balance the risks and the benefits as you do in any life. But that's no different. Everybody does that. If you have a job as whatever, or a banker, or plumber, or insurance salesman, or whatever your job is, and you have a wife and you have a family and you have children, there's always balances. And in the end, you have to come out and say, what is the core value? What keeps me alive? What
Mm.
is the most important thing for me to do in I mean, the most important, it's not a selfish thing. You incorporate the people around you, you embrace the people around you, and at the same time, you have to follow your inner voices. And every path leads to conflict. And yeah, so I mean, have I ever questioned it? No, no, I've never questioned my life because I just can't imagine being a different person. I can't be a different person.
I get
You
it.
could you could lock me up and I'd still be the same person. I just would be locked up.
I really appreciate that. And again, I resonate with you. A lot of people, sadly, don't connect with that message. And there's a lot of abandoning of people's truest selves because of the inner dialogue that they get from society or the people around them. And they let go of some of the most important valued dreams and ambitions. And yes, I hear that it's a balance and there's people in our lives. What I hear is you're being true to yourself and your life's mission while finding the balance the best you can with those that you love. And that's not necessarily the easiest of things to do, but in my opinion, highest and best because you're listening to your truest self. And I think we're all here to do that. And that's, I do honor that in you. So thank you for that. Okay. So I did see a performance, dance performance, talking about your journey, and in Siberia, I believe, and
Yeah.
the book, The Raven's Gift, and then your kind of segue. I want to segue into the three-path mindfulness uh, lesson that you can share with us today. Are those all three the same? That the three-path mindfulness journey coincides with the information you got from the shaman in Siberia?
Yeah, well, from the shaman and from the whole experience.
Yep.
Um, and it's taken me all of those journeys to Siberia written about in The Raven's Gift occurred between 1999 and 2005. This is 10 years later. And for some reason, it has taken me all of this time to bring it down into a few sound bites to understand. It's not like anybody in Siberia gave me this lesson in these terms, but thinking about it, working with the material, speaking about it, dancing the story, I realized that what people were teaching me
Mm,
is that our strength, our mindfulness, our survival, it's more than just, mindfulness. It's just our existence depends on three components of the worldview. One is the tundra, nature, a deep relationship, a reciprocal relationship with nature. Without that, we don't survive, we die.
yep.
There's the hunter, and the hunter in North American society can be a man or a woman. In Korean society, it's a man, but it doesn't matter. It's the metaphorical hunter, the hunter in you, the person who has a physicality, a physical relationship with nature, that and a physical relationship with yourself. Your survival is intimately dependent on your body. It's not just a mental journey, it's a very physical journey. And your relationship with nature, your observations, and your practicality, and all that survives up into gathering food. you know, the bottom line, we have to eat if we're going to live. So we honor
Mm,
the hunter, the gatherer, whatever, the supplier of food. And then there's the shaman, the person, as I say, it could be the woman with the drum or the man with the eagle headdress, but it's not limited to those people. It's the person or the entity that brings ecstasy and magic and this other world and passion into your life. So it
mm,
can be the musician, it can be the artist, it can be the dancer, It's a person that takes you out of the practicality into this other world. And so therefore it's the tundra, the hunter, and the shaman. And of course these are all mixed up. They're not separate. And every one of us is like yin and yang. Every one of us has some of this and some of that, and we balance that all together.
Wow. I loved how you just defined what a shaman is like. I know you say shaman, 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 apple, potato, potato, but like what you just said about it doesn't matter what this person or being is doing. It's about influencing us in a way that we're shifted, that we're brought to another world, so to speak. You know, I, oh my God, it's like when I think about music and musicians catapulting me to another universe. And there's certain songs that I'll play, and I just like my heart just opens up. So, you know, my limited definition of what a shaman is to what you just expanded it to, that was so beautiful. The ability to just really be, you know, taken to another dimension. That's so sweet. And yes, that all three aspects have to be alive in us. And yet, so many people are not in connection with nature, or don't really know how to do self-care to be able to sustain themselves in a healthy way. And certainly the ability to expand their awareness to see beyond who they are in this life, this embodied life. I'm wondering, with your experiences, what might you offer to some of the listeners about connecting to one or all three of them more in their life with what you've discovered? What?
Oh
What are you
boy,
laughing
that's
at?
a real. I'm laughing because it's such a wonderful question.
That's
Uh,
why I get
and
the. That's why I get paid the big bucks. Not.
I want to introduce you all a little bit to Jody Weber, who is the choreographer, the what she calls the artistic director of Weber Dance. And Jody and I have a long and very dear relationship. And she is going through shamanic training right now. She is able to travel to the other world and does it frequently. And at the same time, she's a practical person. She's a professor of theater and dance at a university, Bridgewater State University in the Boston area, and the manager, leader, chief financial officer, chief artistic director of Weber Dance. So we're on a grant from Colorado Arts Council or something to do a bunch of dances in Colorado and also go to a variety of schools and talk to the children. So we get this kind of email or something, a sheet of paper or something. Go to the Youth Recovery Center at 11 o'clock in Glenwood Springs on an address. So we go to the Youth Recovery Center. What's a Youth Recovery Center? Well, I'm not too sure, but it doesn't sound that good, you know. And you get there and it's, oh no, it's a prison.
uh,
Oh, okay. It's a brick building, steel doors, locks inside and outside. Uh-oh, this is a prison.
hmm.
Okay. So it's me and Jody and the four dancers. And we walk in and we go to the faculty room and they give us really bad coffee. And they say, well, we have these young people, men and women, boys and girls, 14 or 15 to 18, somewhere in that age range. And none of them are here because they want to be. They're all in prison, although they don't use that word.
Yeah.
And they've all run askance with the law about drugs or whatnot. They have substance abuse problems, and some of them are violent. And we want to give you 1 hour to turn their lives around. And I'm like, give me a break. Let me out of here. You know, it's a beautiful day outside. I got
So sad, but yeah, I get it. Oh,
it's so sad, but I'm way over my head.
yeah. Oh,
I don't know how to do this, so just let me out of here. But of course, I don't say that, you know. And they bring these kids in and they're shuffling. They're not walking, they're defeated people. And this one young girl, maybe 16 or 17, is chewing on a water bottle like it's a baby bottle. And we've had no practice. I have no training in counseling or anything like that. And I go, right. And we've had no practice what we're going to do for this hour, how we're going to manage this hour. We have zero. Walk into the room, they all gather around. There's maybe 15 of them roughly. And we stand there and kind of look at each other, me and Jody and the dancers. And we've been traveling together and dancing together. We're a pretty tight-knit group. We're all really dear friends. We have a lot of communication, verbal and body language. You know, we're performing on stage together. You get that second sense of the other human being. And Jody says, Jon, why don't you start? And I go, okay. All right. Okay, look, we're all broken sometimes. There's various ways that we're broken. We all get broken. And so we're going to talk about healing today. We're going to talk about getting unbroken. And then it's like improv theater. Jody, who has this deep shamanic wisdoms, starts talking. The dancers talk a little, but mostly they dance. And somehow I believe that because we have been traveling together as such a close-knit family who really loved each other and were performing together, we had a group energy that was greater than our individual energies. And at the end of the hour, we had every one of those hard, defeated young adults up and dancing.
Oh my God.
Dance of healing, the dance of the wave. We were doing the wave. We were dancing the idea of moving on, moving forward. And I was in tears. So you asked me, you know, what is healing? What is shamanism? What is it? How universal is it?
Yeah.
And if we open our minds, I mean, I sit at book signing things or go to I'm at talks and somebody will raise their hand and say, I'm a civil engineer or I'm a lawyer or something and I don't believe in shamanism. And it's like, you're missing the point. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Shamanism, you don't need Kukla the Raven or spirit crocodiles or something. It's the journey into ecstasy, passion. I use the word the journey out of your think too much, know it all brain, but there's lots of terms for that. It's just my term. And into joy, into passion, into yourself. And that's possible for everybody. And you're not always as successful as we were that day in Glenwood Springs, but it's out there and it's possible. One more thing, it's possible on an individual basis. And I really think, we desperately need this right now. It's possible on a society basis. The whole society that we live in has gone a little bit nuts. And we have to come into compassion and joy and ecstasy as the fundamental foundation of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I went off a little bit too much.
No, that was beautiful and wonderful. And if I was reading that in a book, I'd be underlining so much of what you just said. And how beautiful that what you went into not knowing with that prison and not really knowing what you were going to do, and then just allowing things to flow, which then invited them into an experience that I'm sure changed their life. And I mean, that's what you and I both do is hopefully we let people know that things can be different and that we can expand our awareness. And I mean, I do something very different than you, but I mean, at the end of the day, I help people get out of their heads. I might use their brain and their thoughts to help them get some clarity about where they're headed. But then it's like, let's get out of the thinking and let's get into the being so that we can expand our heart. Let's get out of our way so that we can connect to the joy. And the whole societal thing you mentioned, it does. It's a heavy thing on my heart a lot of the time. That's why I don't watch the news, and I'm a little bit of a head in the sand when it comes to a lot of the stuff that's going on out there, so that I can stay on the path the best I can with as much as I need to know about what's going on out there to bring people together, to help each other have more compassion, hopefully for ourselves. And then when we have more compassion for ourselves, open us up to having deeper compassion for each other, which then I think lifts us all up. So I totally get that. Whew, yeah.
That was beautifully said.
Well, thank you, thank you. So so I'm just thinking, the whole mindfulness. I'm curious, do you have a particular practice? I mean, I know you go on the journeys. I know you're in nature a lot. You have this beautiful wife that I was lucky to spend some time with. Do you have a particular practice to keep your heart and soul fresh and in alignment with what you know to be true?
Well, yeah, my way of doing it, you see, is not recommended.
All right, wait a second. Should I put something in the chat box right now? Please do not do this at the risk. Go for it, Jon. Let us know.
You see, there are a lot of paths to mindfulness, a million of them, a
Of
zillion.
course.
And my personal path is I need to be hit over the head with a very heavy stick. So what do? I go ski big, dangerous avalanche slopes in the Canadian Rockies. That's my journey.
Mm.
I hike up mountains. I do this 4 or 5 times a week during the winter. I hike up mountains. I go stand on top of a mountain on a snowy slope that could kill me. I make an evaluation, which is ultimately, there's lots of considerations, but ultimately it's yes, no. I can ski it and not die, or if I jump into it, I will die and I'm going home. And I make that decision. I jump in. There's that moment of intensity where I'm aware of what the snow is doing in a very, very intense and personal way. And then there's that flowing out of energy. It's pure awareness and energy. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's not recommended. I mean, it is.
It's a way. It's a path. Like you said, there's many paths to awareness and mindfulness.
But what I've been doing, and I've been working with Jody on this, is to develop paths that are safe and that everybody can do, that follow in the footsteps, in the idea of this journey that combines physicality, nature, and the journey in some version to the other world. And so, like, we're doing a 5-day workshop in Canada at the Hollyhock Retreat Institute this summer, Jody and myself, and it's called the Dance of the Tides. And we're on an island in Desolation Sound, in between British Columbia, the west coast of British Columbia, and Vancouver Island, which has a big tidal zone. And for 5 days, we're going to hang out in this tide zone. We're going to watch the tides come in, go out, come in, go out. And as they change, you get all this different distributions of animals and plants and so on at different levels of the tide. And nature, it's like spring to summer to winter, but it happens twice a day. And we're going to create our own dance called the Dance of the Tides. And so the dance now that the people in the workshop are going to learn how to do, and Jody's brilliant. She created a dance that a clunky, uncoordinated 70-year-old geezer danced professionally in Boston, having never danced before. I said to Jody, I said, "Don't make me look clunky." And she said, "I'm aware of the problem." And she had me do it in a way that worked.
Aww.
So she can take anybody of any physical ability and get them flowing inside their own body. So the same flow that I feel skiing a steep line cement mixer shoots or something like that. We are going to recreate in dance.
Mm.
So we're going to join the tundra, the tidal zone. The tundra is
Yep.
just the hunter, the physicality, the motion, and the shaman, the mind journey into this workshop as an integration.
Wow.
So that's what we're experimenting with, and that's what we're working. That's at the Hollyhock, HOLLYHOCK Institute, and it's the end of June, early August.
Wow. That sounds so amazing. I loved the dance. I mean, I was so curious. I'm, okay, he's written this book, he has this story, and now we're going to watch a dance. I was so curious, and then the experience of it, and the storytelling of it, and then the energy of it, and the way you just said it, to have people experience that flow, it's beautiful. And yes, the whole being at the top of the mountain and making that decision whether to jump or not, and then of course not even knowing whether the jump will be safe or not. I mean, you're using your best instincts, and obviously you've got some good instincts, thankfully. That there's something to be said about that moment of life and death, that moment of choice. And I do, from some of the things that I've experienced, I remember one thing in particular. I was doing a Tony Robbins workshop, and we had to climb a 60-foot telephone pole and get to the top of it, stand on the top of it, which is like a dinner size plate, like that's how big it was. And how to get up to the top of it when you're at the top was, and it's another whole story, but in that moment, and it took me a little longer than other people, but in that moment, there was nothing else in the world except being in that moment. You had no time to think about anything else. It was so there. I was so alive. I couldn't have been more alive because I was terrified. and every little movement I made, I could have fallen. I mean, I was strapped in, but it didn't matter. I didn't want to fall. And so I totally get that exhilaration and that right there, that choice, should I or shouldn't I? And there's nothing else. And what I've also discovered, which is what you're talking about, is there's other ways to access it, whether it's through music or dance or breathing and connecting. But there's definitely something we said about connecting to your body in it too, that it's not just this mental thing. I think, well, my judgment is I think that's where people struggle the most, is they try to think their way into mindfulness when I think it's the complete opposite. I think they need to just, the allowing, the letting go, which allows the mindfulness to happen. But by moving, and that's why I love Tai Chi. It's a moving meditation. I'm in my body, I'm in my breath, and then I'm able, and Zumba works great for mindfulness.
Right. No, we're in total alignment. In my new book, Crocodiles and Ice, I was working on the edit this morning, and I use this expression, think too much, know it all brain, shut off your think too much, know it all brain. And my editor said, oh, according to Jungian philosophy, blah, blah, blah. I said, no. He says, we're keeping it, you see, because there's so many ways to say it. But there is a moment where you have to shut off your thinking.
Yep.
And that's the only way you can make the journey. And so many people have said this in so many ways. This is not new. I didn't discover something that somebody else doesn't know about. But each of us makes our contribution in our own way, uses our own language, our own body language, our own expression. And what you just said was very beautifully said. It was perfect. It was like, shut off your think too much, know it all brain. Enter your body, let your body join, become part of the cosmic wholeness, and you're on your way.
Yep, exactly. In shadow work, we really honor the thinking know-it-all brain. We do. We really honor it because we need to know what's up there. We need to know what's moving around in there. But then we get it out. We do a lot of psychodrama. We take the parts out, the part that says you can't do anything, and the part that says, oh, I'm so scared, or whatever it is. But once we get it out of our heads and we look at it and have that perspective, then we go into our body, then we go into the experience, because that's where the life happens. That's where the shift happens. You know, I'm noticing the time, and I really want you to let people know how to connect with you, your website, you know, if you want to talk a little bit more about the Raven's Gift, if you'd like, or the new book that's coming up, anything you want, but I really want people to know how to get to you.
Yeah, right. Well, my name is Jon Turk. That's JonTurk. My website is easy. It's jonturk.net.
Oops, I did it wrong. Disregard that. Let me erase that. Hold on. Oops. I put it in with the .com, .net. JonTurk.net. Okay. It's official. Right. There you go.
Anybody who wants to connect with me, send me an email, either john@jonturk.net or through my website, which is jonturk.net. It's all very easy. People who are listening to this show, I give them a little discount on either my existing books, The Raven's Gift, or my new book. The new book, Crocodiles and Ice, takes you, the Raven's Gift takes me on my journeys with Mulanath, the old shaman. Crocodiles and Ice goes on into the continued journey, the understanding of how we and society who live in the 21st century, we're not Stone Age Koryak shamans. We're functioning in society. And it ends with this story of the dance in the prison that I just told you about, which is that you can take this ecstasy and heal individuals, ourselves, and society. So if you want to be on the mailing list when that book comes out, send me an email. I'll give you a $5 discount on the book if you say you're from this show, and we'll keep the dialogue going.
Sounds good. So it's in the chat box, jonturk.net. Wow, I can't believe this time just flew. There's so many things I'd like to know more about you. Well, I thank you for being here and sharing as much as you did about your adventures, your spirit, the calling. I mean, to me, there's so much you shared. What I love, like if I were to like highlight what was the biggest thing here for me, was listen to your calling, trust that, go for that. And that those three pieces, the tundra, the shaman, and it's the third one. I'm forgetting the third one. The tundra, the hunter, the shaman. I guess I have to work on my hunter. Those three pieces, like bring it all together to have our whole, full, magnificent life. And you express it so beautifully, and you've lived it. That's why you can express it so beautifully. So I'm so glad that you're out there sharing your journey so people can tap into it for themselves. So Jon, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks, Journey, for giving me a portal to express my ideas.
Yes, you are welcome. You're welcome. So that's it for today, guys. So jonturk.net. If you're interested in taming your inner critic or seeing what's in shadow for you, I'm a shadow worker at innercritictamer.com. And blessings to you all. Listen to your heart, follow your passion, find that balance, and don't listen to the naysayers. Just go into your heart and live the life that you're meant to live, because we need you to shine your light. Blessings to you all, everyone. Thank you.